You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the TLF, radio zone.
It could become something. Oh, there we go. I thought something was missing. So, yeah, good evening, everybody. Oh, it's always got to be something, doesn't it? I know it does. So, yeah, I was saying I have psychic medium Natasha Venter joining me tonight. She's going to be joining me here real shortly, and I'm looking forward to having her on. And well, the usual with the broadcast. It's coming from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, located on the east coast of the United States. And now I've repeated that because, well, for some reason my button was shut off on my mic. Anyways, it is Monday night, and I'm real happy. My Bills, they took down the Dolphins and clinched the AFC East, and now they'll get a home game in the playoffs. And I know some of you are saying, who cares? Well, I care. And I'm excited about it a little bit. We'll see how they do. They're going to have Pittsburgh coming into town. And, somewhere along the lines in the last couple of days, my voice has kind of fizzled out on me a little. I don't know why. I'm not sick. I'm not nothing like that. It's just one of those things. I don't know. But yeah, Natasha Venter joining me shortly. Multi-life, intuitive, spiritual counselor, medium, energy seer, animal communicator. Oh, she does it all. And she'll be doing it right here on the last frequency. So, and if you missed Uncensored, you can go to the Rumble archive. It's right over there for you. Waiting for your approval or disapproval or whatever it might be. All right, so let's see here. I got a little bit of news and discovery that I want to get to as well. See, everything Remember, I told you I had a new system. Well, I do have my new system set up now, and a lot of things have changed a bit, and so I'm still getting used to it. Every night it seems like it's we're getting there, anyways. But we are. An incredible series of images on this one article shows Earth as never seen before. A tech company claimed to be the first to send a 360-degree action camera into space. They say that the Chinese firm Insta360 has shown off breathtaking pictures snapped by cameras attached to a satellite launched 500 kilometers into outer space, and the equipment blasted off on January 16th and is now orbiting the planet, capturing what they say incredible 360-degree views of the stars, the Milky Way, and the Earth. And they go on to say, as you can see, the Earth is not flat. I know the pictures are fake, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. We'll move on. We will move on. Solar winds stopped blowing on Mars for 2 days. For 2 days in December, the solar wind suddenly stopped on Mars, and its atmosphere on the sun-facing side actually swelled by nearly 4 times its usual size, from its usual 497 miles to over 1,864 miles out. Wonder what caused that. Speculate. I know what some people would tell me might have caused it. I don't know if I buy that either. Trump threatens to indict Biden if the courts don't give him blanket immunity. I don't know if he quite said it like that, but that's, you know how the media is. It says former President Donald Trump says federal courts better give him total immunity from criminal prosecution or he'll go after Joe Biden if he wins this year. I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen to that one. I mean, does he come out and say they better? I mean, and look, if what's good for one is good for the other, right? I think, pick your battles. Police swarm Miami Mall after terrified customers claim they saw 8-foot alien shadow creatures. 8-foot alien shadow creatures. The wild rumors of an alien invasion taking place couldn't have been further from the truth, they say, despite reports of massive shadowy figures stalking around the mall. Teenagers brawling at a mall in Miami managed to spark rumors of huge shadowy alien beings being seen. I don't know if they're rumors, though. Cops swarmed the area in a bid to get the situation under control. Then rumors abound around Twitter and other social media platforms that the police weren't there to handle the rioting teens, but rather 8 to 10 foot tall shadow aliens. Those some big shadow aliens. Officials say that officers were there to deal with a group of about 50 teenagers at Bayside Marketplace Mall in the city. And according to an amateur video posted online, there are moments when a big creature could be seen in plain sight standing in front of the entrance to the shopping mall. But it's just a rumor, causing many online conspiracists to post their takes on exactly what happened. Well, if big, tall creatures are being seen in the video standing in front of the mall entrance, then I would guess there's probably 8 to 10 feet tall shadow aliens. Now, how do you know a shadow alien from a shadow person? The head shape, maybe? I don't know. I'm curious about that one. Folks, if you want to get questions to us tonight, you could do it a few ways. You could do it through the portal. Yes, I did. I finally shaved. You could do it through the portal over on lastfrequency.com, or you could do it in the YouTube chat, the Facebook comment chat, whatever you want to call it. I'll be scaling through them. I mean, I might and I might not catch it. If you want to make sure I get it, then you'll do it through the portal on our website, lastfrequency.com. And that's the safest way. And then later, of course, maybe I'll even take calls. We'll see how that goes. I've got a full week here. Full week, 4 nights, really. I do 4 nights a week. All right. So Saturday counts. It's just not the same show. It's a little different. A little more vulgar. A little more from the heart, if you will. Anyways, folks, don't forget to subscribe and like, please, and share the links. If you like what you get here and you want to help us out, I'd appreciate it. You could go to the website and hit that donate button. That always helps because, a little burden off the bills never hurt anyone. Oh, it can help, right? So hang on with me. I am going to take a break, and then I'm going to come back with my wonderful guest, and we'll get talking. Natasha Venter joining me here in just a moment. Don't forget, I've got to mute you over on the video side of things because of the music. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is, so bear with me.
Carolina Radio, Columbia.
Excellent.
In
your talk station. Hey, frequencies of all walks of life. Keep up with all things TLF Radio by joining our mailing list. Go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the form. You'll get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now.
You're listening to the VARA Network.
Frequencies around the world. Listen up. The shop is here, and you can order TLF radio swag right now and show your friends and neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts. We have coffee mugs, clocks, so never miss your favorite shows, books, mouse pads. Just go to thelastfrequency.com and click the shop link. That's thelastfrequency.com and get to shopping.
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
You heard me. Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
For all your bumper sticker needs, just click on the Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers banner located at the foot of my website, www.lastfrequency.com. That's Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers and more.
You're making me crazy.
A Walmart.
I love this.
damn show, because he's not going to take it anymore. So turn off the other crap and pull up a darn seat, will you?
Tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours of mind-blowing radio and TV. The Last Frequency covers everything.
You're listening to the wonderful Vara Network.
This is The Last Frequency.
Do you have a thirst for knowledge and a curiosity for the unknown? If you answered yes, then you need to tune into The Last Frequency radio show with veteran talk radio host Mike Vara. The Last Frequency is a talk radio show that covers everything from UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, forbidden archaeology, government cover-ups, and much more. The Last Frequency is live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern on lastfrequency.com. You can also watch the show on Rumble, but if you want to get the full experience and access a much wider archive of past shows, you need to become a subscriber. As a subscriber, you will be part of the resistance and support independent media. Don't miss this opportunity to join the Last Frequency community and get informed, enlightened, and entertained. Subscribe today and get ready for the ride of your life. Because when all communications go down, this just may be your last frequency.
From the great Southeast, in the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to The Last Frequency with your host, Mike Vara. To get questions to Mike, just go to the portal page on the website or give a call at 803-369-3629. Now, here is Mike Vara.
I apologize again for those who are watching this on the video end of things and muting you during the music. Well, it won't be like that every night. Some nights I'll use, music that YouTube does approve of. But it seems like even when I do that, I end up, something happens. I don't know. But let me tell you a little bit about my guest, and then I will attempt to bring her aboard the mothership, if you will. Natasha Venter, multi-life intuitive, spiritual counselor, medium, energy seer, animal communicator, feng shui advisor, if I said that right. Natasha uses her lifelong soul calling, natural born psychic abilities to guide us through bumps along the road of life. She easily travels to any lifetime, dimension, and Akashic records. As one who remembers being born and living a soul-awakened life, she's been described as a bridge between worlds. Natasha uses her gift as dimensional animal communicator, a reader of energies, and in her work, lovingly assisting people through grief and other challenging times. So, let her lifelong intuition and over 30 years of experience guiding clients with their readings, healings, healing meditations, life coaching, and so much more. She will inspire you. Her website's www.angelicclarifications.com. She has a podcast, Every Day with an Angel, and it's live on Wednesdays, 4 o'clock Pacific, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. So you can look for her there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and see if I could get her on with us. Okay, here we go. They had to put me in Vegas, like, the odds. Everyone could do odds on whether everything's going to work out or not. No, that ain't it. I thought, not online. Here we go. Oh boy, if you took the under, you'd win a lot. Jesus. Here we go. Yeah, it can never just be a smooth ride. Well, I mean, it can, but all right. Maybe I just have to call a phone number and do it that way. And it's not going to let me copy it. All right. We'll do it the other hard way then, I guess. Bear with me, folks. I'm going to get this going. I promise you. It's hard to, I do the number, I want to say it, and I can't. All right, let's try that. Perhaps that'll work. We're ringing.
Hello there.
Good evening, Natasha. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and I was on Skype. I don't know what's going on besides Mercury's coming out of retrograde.
Yeah, I don't know either. I figured, I better go look, and I see the phone number too. I said, well, maybe I was supposed to call that. So, but I'm glad you're here, and I want to thank you so much for taking time out to be here.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me be your guest.
Oh, absolutely. So this is some interesting stuff. So explain a little bit how all this got started. So multi-life intuitive, spiritual counselor, medium, kind of maybe take me through what an energy seer is too. Animal communicator. So how did all this come about? I mean, when did it start?
Basically the day I was born.
Yeah.
My cousin always said, we come from an intuitive family, but even when you were just barely walking, if you said something, we stopped and listened to you because we just knew that you had something to say. And I was very quiet, shy, but yet I guess when I spoke, there was something to say. Something to say.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
so you're a medium. You're able to communicate with the other side then.
Definitely. I do very much. I'm part of that whole, communication part. There's a lot of us out there that can communicate with, the other side, but the other side is not necessarily on the other side. It's right next to us. But at the same time, it's that all, I speak from, like I have a guide who is part of the Council for the Universes. And then, I speak with loved ones who have passed in sessions. And like the other day, my car radio the sound was going up and down. And I was like, okay, who's here? And I started talking with my dad, who's been gone now over 30 years. And so it's like, you just kind of check in, and it's like talking with a friend, it's one of those things. Who's next to me? Could be physical and it could be spiritual. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, well, so now you say what I found interesting what you said, the other side's not necessarily the other side. It's right here with us. So our spirits, I mean, do they go through like what we go through? Do they need somebody to help them contact us, or can they see us all the time, or how does that work?
Actually, yes. I would say that they are interacting with us most every time. There are the spirits that know that they cannot be around us humans physically all the time, because then they can make us sick or pull our energy off, right? That's why there's a lot of kids who live in a very spirited house can become more ill more times because of the that it takes energy to create a form or more energy to be known when they're there. So with that, like my dad, he's not around me all the time, but he's there in pertinent times. My mom isn't necessarily around me as much, but, at the same time, she had her thing to do, and, we were meant to have this lifetime together, but yet not in the spirit realm as much. But my dad's more my guide. We were two peas in a pod when he was alive, and my mom understood that. Yeah. But, it's one of those things that, spirits are there most of the time, but if they love you enough and they are from people who love you, they will not be around you. Now, if you have I had a friend who had a little girl in her house bouncing around because she had 3 intuitive kids and she was intuitive herself. So they were bright lights pulling in these energies, and it was a little girl that was dancing around, and her kids were sick a lot of times because, and they would say, "Oh, I see her all the time. She's bouncing around. She's doing this. She's doing that." But to make it that much of a form to be seen, she needed energy. And so who's around? The human, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the difference is. Now, we can have spirits around us that, like let's say if you're someone who visits a bar, just for an example, that, you can pick up spirits at a bar because you're vulnerable enough, and you can bring them in, and they will attach to you and be with you, and that's not always the most healthiest thing to do, but at the same time, we can eliminate ourselves of that scenario. I have a lot of protection in my house, so I'm not bombarded all the time.
Yeah. So you're able to turn it on and off then, to a degree.
Yes, I do. I do. If the universe wants me to yell, they do kind of yell at me, and this is an opportunity. But in my spiritual room, where I'm sitting now, I've allowed the doorway to have more spirit come in. But at the same time, my house is, if I was on all the time, I'd be burning out quicker than not. So I don't want to burn out. This is my body. I want myself to be able to rest. And so I have boundaries with the universe around me.
Well, I would imagine you have to. You couldn't go 24/7. It always comes to mind that that Nun movie with Whoopi Goldberg, where all the spirits, once they found out she could see them and hear them, it's like they just piled in on her. So
yes.
Yeah.
So
And
that can happen, and sorry for interrupting.
No.
That can happen. That can happen if you're in certain places. Like if I choose to go, like I work at, where I work, if I open the door, yeah, they would say, okay, here I am, da 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 da. Once I start doing readings, it's like the domino falls. You can't catch the dominoes. Because I've opened up the door and said, I'm here, walking in a graveyard or walking in a very spirited, place, a building that's very spirited. Once you say, yes, I see you, it's like, oh, you can see us, da, 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 da. It's that one of those things. And I had a friend who was a medium, and even in airports, she'd wear sunglasses, so that they wouldn't see where she was looking. Because they do sense that. If you do say, oh, you're there, but you don't say anything, they know that you're there because, the ESP, or the mind walk, that you can do with things, you don't always have to speak physically with people or energies for someone to know that you're there. And so with that there is that scenario, but spirit, yes, but boundaries are good.
So why, if the veil is so thin, and I believe you, it is, how come all our relatives aren't trying to get a hold of us, or are they, or why can some do it and some can't? I guess the same question would be how some get like you're able to connect, and then others couldn't do it if they tried.
Well, I would say that the difference between me and a lot of people is I trust. I trust what I get. I trust that part of me that sees, that knows, that hears, that feels, that engages. And people always wonder, Natasha, how do you get this? Like, I can be driving down the road and I can get 15 messages from the universe, because that's the perception I carry, is that the universe is talking to us all the time. And the universe I consider part of, our loved ones from the other side.
Yeah.
And, the difference is, like if you think of an idea, like let's say we just had the holidays, right? And you're making a cookie, or you're making something grandma used to make. And all of a sudden you think of, oh, that's the spice she used, right? Well, who knows? Grandma's probably there saying, think of this, do this, do this, and they're whispering kind of in your knowings, I call it, not necessarily in your ear, but that's kind of a metaphor you can say, but whispering in your knowings and implanting that idea. Or, a lot of times when we get inspirations for things, that's way that our loved ones speak to us. Or let's say, like when I was getting ready to buy my house, and we were down to the nitty gritty, and my mom had Lou Gehrig's disease, and she was going for Social Security disability. And, I told the universe, at 4:00, we're done. I want this house. This house is for me. I felt it was right for me. My dad actually set it up for us because he had already died 3 years ahead of time. And, and what ended up happening was the guy that had my mom's case was in a car accident. He came into work and did 2 paperworks, 2 folders to say yes, that they can have it, or no, they cannot. And one of them was my mom's. And by 3:30, we've heard that we were going to get the funding fully to get this house.
Yeah.
Now, that's how our loved ones can, or our guides, angels, whoever, can, I don't want to call it manipulate, but that's a positive way of saying what I'm trying to say, things to negotiate so that we get what we do. And like this house, I've always loved farmhouses. I wanted to be in town but out of town. A detached garage. My husband wanted a shop. What did I get? A farmhouse, in town but out of town. I can walk with in town. It's only not even a mile, but I have horses in my back fields here. There's a 2-car garage, a shop, and I've always wanted a horse weather vane. Guess what's on top of the garage?
You got it. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. My dad took care of us.
Yeah, me and myself, when my mother passed away in 2001, she had came to me, which, this is not normal for me to, I've had some paranormal experiences, but I'm no psychic. I don't connect with the other side or any of that. But for I think good reasons, my mother she came and visited me after she had passed away. And first, a dream. I had there was a dream state, and it's like we relived an entire day, which was awesome, And I'm telling you, it was so real that when I woke up, I was like ready for bed again. I was tired. And then it was a couple years later, having some issues in my life, and she came again, and this time like an out-of-body experience. I got up out of my body, and and I looked back, and I could see myself laying there. There was a knock at the window, and there she was, and and she showed me what she wanted to say. She didn't talk. And there were personal messages basically for myself. And honestly, I didn't know what to think until the next day when everything she told me started coming true. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, I literally just broke down in tears because it was like, oh my God, it was real. Yeah. And
and that's the way that they do. That's the amazing thing is that our spirit can. I remember traveling with spirit. When I lived, in a different room, I would travel into my mom and dad's room, just to see who they were, and I didn't realize I was doing that as a kid until I saw them, and I went, oh, I shouldn't be here. And then I went back to my body, right? And, it's that thing that, we do travel. And that's the way that our family members usually do, is in our dreams, because we're out of the way. We're out of our logic. This can't happen mind's way. And that's part of it, is our mind sometimes can't wrap around the spirit world. And I've been grateful that my mind, my whole life, has been willing to say, the spirit world's been more this is my real world than the 3D world. I have more troubles with the 3D world than I do with
oh Lord, me
too.
At least the other world, at least there's answers usually. There's it seems like anytime I have some kind of connection with that, I get something's answered for me, But and I've recently had an incident with my dad, and that was kind of it's still to this day I'm kind of I don't know where to go with it, but he passed away back in April. And there was some, let me just say, there's some funny play that's gone on with the whole inheritance and stuff, okay? And so it was told to me that, that he had wanted something a certain way, which didn't sound nothing like my father. And so, okay, well, several days after I had learned that information, I was sitting in my chair here at my desk, and I kind of dozed off for a couple minutes, and he walks in the room. I mean, I see him walk in the room, and he's looking like he's about in his 50s now. He died at 92. And he's just looking at me, and he's shaking his head no. Now, I don't know. I have a couple ways I could go with that. Either I'm crazy, I'm just imagining it. It was just a dream. Or he was coming to give me a message and telling me, something. I don't know what he might have been telling me, and so I'm kind of still trying to figure that one out. But, again, he's just shaking his head no. And I don't know if he's saying, no, that's not what I wanted, or no, you shouldn't say those things, Michael. I don't know which it was, but that was my latest. So.
Yeah, well, and going back to when somebody passes away, like say in their 90s, and I'm sorry for your loss. I know that's not always easy. That you will see them back when they felt their more happier time. They don't want to stay in. The soul doesn't. The soul is timeless. Yeah. There is no specific time, but at the same time, though, they're not the body of a 90-year-old. They're the soul of an energy, of a mature energy. And so that's where they'll come to somebody who will recognize them. And so don't be afraid that if a child passes, sadly, that's one of the hardest griefs to go through, is it losing a child.
Yeah, I lost a grandson back in 9 months old back in 2019. So yeah, it is tough.
Ouch.
Yeah, I felt so bad.
It's unspeakable. Yeah. But then if that child comes to you, they might come to you as a teenager. So it's one of those things that we cannot predict what a soul will look like in a way. Time-wise, they may come back more as a child, just so that we recognize, and then they'll get older as we engage with them, let's say in a dream. And don't be freaked out by something like that. That's just part of it. But your dad, and can I get what his name is?
Edward.
You can just use the first name.
Yeah, Edward.
Edward. Yeah, he just, you're so hard on yourself with that whole situation, and he doesn't want you to be hard on yourself. And part of this complication was just logistics. It wasn't necessarily something that he did, but it was logistics. And that's the thing is that the old way of doing things is not necessarily the new way. Yeah. And he didn't quite understand that whole logistics of that, that word again. But he wants you to be proud of yourself for doing what you're doing and negotiating what you did. And he never wanted troublesomeness to come through with this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I believe that he definitely wouldn't have wanted that, and it's just I think there's been a little funny play somewhere, and but yeah, I know it wasn't on his part.
Yeah, no, I would say actually what I'm getting is that there's I call them little nemesis. They can be spry, they can be somebody can call them fairies, they can be, they can be there's different kinds of, elementals, and I get that there's something going on in that department, but that's my perception in that. So your truth is your truth. Believe what you want, but that's what I'm seeing energetically that popped in.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And we can tell them to go away. Like I had one in my house that was getting mad because my husband was actually not being angry anymore, and he liked my husband being angry, and so he started sabotaging things to get things stirred up. And I kept leaving the house going, praying that my house was safe. And I've never prayed for my house to be safe, really, like fire. I felt like fire. And then I was asking a girlfriend who, was a little bit into it. I said, okay, I own up. If I've been turning on the gas after I turn it off because I didn't turn it off all the way, I'll own up to that. But I don't believe I've been. And she goes, no, you got this thing that's turning on gas after you and wants to play with fire and that kind of stuff. I go, no wonder. So, the thing to do that you can do if you honor them is ask the king and the queen of the elementals, the fae, to come in and take care of situations when we need that extra help, or the house angels to come in and help. But I would give them something in return. Like I asked what they wanted in return, and they said that they wanted the silver chocolates, the Hershey's chocolates, the silver ones. And they wanted that, so I went out and got them a package of chocolates, and I spread them all around my spiritual room.
Hey, if it works,
It did actually, because the gas hasn't turned off, and the gas has been turning off. There's been no fear of the house catching on fire. It cleared out, and I've been so grateful for the teamwork that I have in this house to keep things safe.
Nice. So, do you, when you do readings and stuff, I'm sure that sometimes you probably do them from your home. And is there a protection, I don't want to say ritual, but I will, ritual kind of thing that you go through before you start connecting, or no?
I usually, because I trust the protection I have in this home, in this room. I have talismans. I know that I've got dragons. I got angels protecting me. I live not too far away, not even 50 feet from a graveyard, so I know I have to have extra protection in this place. So what I do is I open the door, for lack of a better word, to allow the guides, the loved ones who want to speak with the people I'm working with. I open the doorway for them to come in, and then when we're done, I make sure that I ask them to leave. Most of the time I light candles when I'm doing sessions, and so that's my prayer when I light a candle, is when the light goes out, then everybody goes home to their greater good who needs to go home, and let this house be cleared.
Is there more activity near a cemetery? I mean, I would think that when I finally kick the bucket, whenever that day comes, God, I hope it's not too soon, that I'm not going to be hanging around a stone in a hole in the ground. I'm hoping that I got better things to do. But is there sometimes activity at these graveyards, and if so, why?
Well, it's kind of like when somebody meditates with a group of people, it's a collective of energy. And so a church has a collective of energy. A very haunted place has a collection of energy. And so with that, a cemetery can have a collection of energy. And this is going to be kind of stretching a lot of, I understand the matrix and the world as it as it plays out. And what it is that, you know, how people always say like Archangel Michael works with pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
You know, he's not fragmented. He's segmented himself to be where he needs to be. His energy, he plops like a raindrop, plops here, plops there, plops everywhere, right? Well, our energy can do the same thing. And so sometimes when we have, let's say, an unfinished business or a traumatic injury, kind of like, you know, back in the back where the Civil War was, you know, in those cemeteries, there's a lot of activity. And so with that, then there's residual energy where it will stay in that traumaticness. And then that's why when we are human and we do like a soul retrieval, we go back and pick up parts of ourselves. That's picking up that soul part, because even with us being here on Earth, we are not complete. Our soul is in different places. You know, like I can see the different dimensions that I'm in doing the same phone calls to a relevant energy of you in different dimensions, right? So I'm doing a lot of different things. If anybody has watched Doctor Strange or any of the Marvel movies, that totally, there's so much truth in those movies, right? That and how we can manipulate our soul. So really, past lives aren't really past lives. They've just been a time when our soul was resident in that lifetime, and we just legally call them past lives, right?
So not a past life, a different dimension then.
Yeah, well, in a way, or a different timeline, or a different spot in where that soul has gone forward, or our soul, I'm going to call it, because we are all one, but we're all getting different scenarios. So that's why a lot of times I say, in this dimension that I'm in right now, in the body that I'm in, I am collected, I am one, I am moving forward so I can be the better me.
Yeah, well, I mean, then there's
frustrated.
probably dimensions then, that's what I'll call them, where there's probably better me's, right? I mean...
I wouldn't call them better yous. I'd call them different yous. Or a different perspective or perception of you. There's not always... And each one of us has something to live with. Somebody has to be a bum. Somebody has to be a rich. Somebody has to be, somebody who's not a good person. Somebody who is a great person. You know, somebody has to be a minister. Somebody has to be, somebody who's a murderer. You know, there's always going to be a dimensional time where we are someone. That's why I say I can't hold judgment, because I haven't done it in this lifetime. I've done it in another, so why should I judge, right? There's always these things that come forward but these are the reasons why we are human, is to learn, to stretch and pull, to understand life is life, to really get ourselves opened up, and the difference between us and spirit is that we are physical to have the emotions. You know, when we kick the corner of the couch, ouch, it hurts. What did that feel like? You know, our spirit doesn't kick the couch and then corner of the couch and then go, ow. You know, they go through it, right? So how does that emotion help us to stretch and pull and become a more aware soul? That's the whole journey of a soul. Now, I can't tell you exactly why I get that understanding why, but I can't put those understandings into words. They're not logical words to say why does our soul do that. It's just been part of the reason why we were, as a collective, some reason, and still evolving, because life is a journey. And I'm going to say life as a soul is a journey. It's never a destination.
Yeah, well, it seems to be. And, it's such a mystery for us, as far as death. I mean, that's why so many people are afraid of death, because it's unknown, people could tell you, and I've even had experiences with spirits, but I still don't know where they came from or what's going on over there. Like, what do you do when you go to the other side? I'm hoping it's not boring. That's my biggest fear. I hope I'm not playing a harp all day.
No, no. Oh gosh, no. Oh no, 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 no. You know, there's different things that we do as a soul. You know, there's some people that when we cross over who haven't had really awakenedness, you know, sometimes they take a little bit more time, I'm going to call it, to do a life review. But like my dad, as soon as he crossed over, you know, he was busy as a bee. You know, he was there, he was here, he was over all the way around, you know, and you know, he was very interactive. But I always said that he had one foot in this world and one in the other. So he was very intuitive himself. I come from multifamily intuitiveness and then multi-life intuitiveness. I remember being intuitive many lifetimes. And so with that, you know, going forward, you know, each soul has a different journey. Now, someone who has committed suicide, I've seen what they do is, because I work with Archangel Azrael, who's the angel of ultimate time and death, and he's shown me, and the guides have shown me that the people who do commit suicide, sadly, they are very loved. There's usually a family member that's greeting them, an angel, and then there's a certain guide that helps them through a little bit of a story of how they almost have to go through a little bit of, this is why you chose this is why this is happening, this is how life would have been if you would have stayed, you know, that kind of thing. And it's not a punishment, it's awarenesses, and nothing is meant to be a punishment. It's meant to bring out awarenesses. What awarenesses can we have in life? What understanding can we have in life? And you know, if we can take life as awarenesses instead of punishments, we would be so much more ahead.
Yeah, we would be so much more ahead. Now, we're really the spirit, okay, and we're using this body, as they say, as a vehicle to have this experience here on this planet. If we're all really spirits and everyone's a spirit, I mean, then there must be some pretty rotten spirits too on the other side, because I can't imagine spirits doing some of the things that people do on this planet. So what's the case? I mean, is that what, like, some people talk about demons? Is it just bad people are, you know, still bad on the other side, or how does all that tune in?
Well, as we have to have opposites. We have up, we have down, we have in, we have out, we have light, we have dark. And from even the cavemen times, we've had human personalities, right?
Yeah.
And sadly, judgment is part of that personality, right? Well, what is judgment? Judgment is opposites. It's, you're opposite of me. You're not me. You are far from being me. You're over there. I'm here. Right. And with that, when you start getting a collectiveness, it's kind of like dust in a corner, right? It collects more dust.
Yeah, it
right.
does.
So then you have this darkness, and I can say that if somebody is, let's say they grow up in a very abusive home, and there's a lot of it, you know, I always say that addictions have entities attached to them. So it could be the entity of alcoholism, it could be the entity of drug abuse, it could be the entity of gambling. So that there's those entities that are attached, because I can say that I've helped people, and sometimes there's this energy in front of somebody, and it's like, oh, you have shame sitting in front of you. And it's almost like an entity. It's like this cloud that sits in energy collection of people, of this scenario that carried. And so that's when I'm sitting in front of someone, I say, let's let shame sit to the side. So it's almost like I'm taking that energy, that entity, and putting it to the side. And so when you have somebody who's in negative energy a lot, that negative energy collects, and it gets darker and it gets darker and it gets darker. And like my youngest would deal with depression, right? And so one time I walked into her room and I saw two dark elementals. You know, they were kind of gnomish looking, they were fey, but they were just kind of like dark blobs. And I went, "What are you doing in here?" And I heard the message, "We're a collection of depression." So darkness was collecting her depression so that she wasn't sitting in depression all the time. You know, it wasn't sitting on her. And then when they got too dark, I would send them out of the house to clean up, to let go of stuff. And then pretty soon here they come back again, because my kid would always negotiate depression, right? During especially those teenage years.
Yeah.
And so with that, you know, sometimes you have to have darkness to work with darkness. And yet there is darkness. Now, there was a time when I was in a casino, and I was walking through, and all of a sudden I was with my friend, and we both went, "What did we just walk through?" And we took a moment, and I tapped in, and I went, oh crap. Because, you know, casinos, what's in casinos, right? Gambling energy. What is gambling energy? Greed. What is greed? Greed is darkness, right?
It's also addiction.
And so that addiction, there's a lot of, and then whatever else stories that people are walking in with. Some of it's alcoholism, some of it's abuse, some of it is uncertainty, some of it's low self-esteem. You know, it's a lot of different stuff. And you know, I was like, this is not my monkey. I'm not supposed to take care of this. This is reality, you know, because I'm not always supposed to take care of something, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, no, it's not my monkey. It is my monkey. So I went and you know, took care of it. And it was interesting. It's on my website, you know, the story that I did. And my girlfriend was with me, and she goes, "God, what is that?" And I said, "That's darkness." And then I called in something that can handle the darkness. And then they took care of the darkness. And then all of a sudden she goes, "Who just walked in?" I said, "That was Mother Mary." And Mother Mary walked in front of us, because what can we do to take out darkness? You bring in love.
I thought I was gonna say bring in the light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, bring in love, and Mother Mary is all love, right? And so she brought in the love, and then my girlfriend was like, it's just amazing who she is, you know, because she was filling into that energy. And so, you know, when we want to negotiate darkness, that's where, when we're cleansing a house, right? We take out the darkness, but then what do we need to do? We need to walk around and bring in love to fill it in, because we don't always want to leave darkness in charge. And that's the way that's this new awakening that's on the planet right now, is that we've sat in darkness for a long time.
Well,
and now it's time to bring in love.
Michael, who's watching us over on Facebook, he says, "Without the darkness, light has no meaning. The yin yang."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I mean by, you know, there's the light on top of the table, and there's the shadow under the table. And we have to have that yin yang, as he put it, the chi energy, that balance, because otherwise we wouldn't have the stretch and pull. We wouldn't know when is a good time. We wouldn't know when is a bad time, right? It would be all just neutrality. And what's neutrality? What's fun in neutrality, right? Yeah. That's not being human. That's not being human. And so we stir it up. Now, you know, when we talk about some of, like, there was this movie that came out not too long ago about some really dark moments, and I didn't even watch that movie. I couldn't watch it. You know, about the children, and you know, what is it? Well, that's the collective of darkness, that we have to have something to say. We got to bring out the rats. We got to bring out the darkness to see it, because if we don't know about it, if we don't recognize it, things can't change.
Yeah.
And that's why we have these moments in life where it's like, why is this happening? Well, it's happening to show us that there are things that we have to look at life, because otherwise life doesn't change.
Yeah, life is kind of like a boot camp. It seems like we're coming here. I don't know. What do we need all these lessons for? What I mean, it's almost like I'm gonna go Star Wars on you, but it's almost like we're training to be some kind of Jedi, and then I don't know. We're gonna use this for what? Our next. What do we do with it?
Well, I can tell you, the lifetimes that I've been a warrior, right? Or a priestess, or the times when I was, a healer of a town, and everybody would come to me when I was in the cave, but then as soon as I walked in town, they would scorn me and throw food at me, right? And so all those stretch and pulls have collected me into this lifetime that I'm living in this moment, talking with you in this 3D world.
Yeah,
that it's. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I guess what I mean is, like, we never can remember these other lifetimes, as I guess we could say. We don't remember them. So if we don't remember them, how is it? It must be just for the soul. And because for some reason we don't remember any of these other timelines or stuff. Most of us, anyways. And so we can't use those lessons if we've not remembered them, right? It's just kind of.
No, actually, we can use them.
Oh, really?
Because of the fact that there's times when, we get that. Well, I'm going to do it in spite of it. I'm gonna go out and get that job in spite of everybody telling me I can't.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Been there,
Because
done
we've
that.
had a lot of lifetimes that have kept us down, and we've just in this lifetime decided we're going to do it anyways, right? And so even though we may not know why we have that drive, it's a collective. It's the past lives. It's the way our planets and the astrology is. It's the way that our handprints are, reading the lines of the palm. It's the numerology we're born in. It's a collection of different scenarios that set us up for, I don't want to call it success, because not everybody's having a successful life. But, we make these contracts coming in, or these understandings coming in. I don't necessarily like the word contract, but these stories coming in of what we want to accomplish. The thing is, though, when we get in here, we get the mix-up and the stories of other people's humanness. And we don't always want to have, we weren't meant to have the lessons that hit us across the head. But sometimes we need the hit across the head, because some of us don't pay attention to what we're supposed to be doing in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's been people who've had major accidents, right?
Yeah.
And their life totally flips upside down, and they say, if I didn't have this accident, I wouldn't be doing X, Y, Z. And that's what I'm called to do. I knew there was always something I was meant to do, and until this accident, I didn't know what it was.
Well,
right?
and that's so right. I've said this since I've started this show 16 years ago, and I've said, there's been things in my life that have happened that at the time I thought were horrible. But then when I look back, I say, well, if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So they weren't so bad. Sometimes these things have to happen because to give you, like you said, a nudge. It's like the universe says, all right, this guy's not getting it. We're going to have to help him out a little bit. And boom. So now maybe you weren't planning on going to, say, California. Well, something happens and now you have to go there. And then something happens for you. And it's like it's just weird how it works. It really is.
The orchestra and I'm just in awe of the miracle that the universe is doing to set us up. And some people can call that the Matrix. Some people call that, the outer. And you'll have to excuse my words, because being dyslexic, I didn't read my knowings. I didn't really read until after high school, so I read pretty simply.
That's fine
So
with me.
a lot of these knowings I have are just me. And so I don't necessarily have a lot of the big words that people have read. I have just a lot of the simple words. And so the bigger picture of this whole game that we're in, it could be that things are set up like a mathematical problem, right?
Yeah.
And we could be puppets. We could be puppets in this big game. But at the same time, though, my soul chose, your soul chose, other people's souls chose to be here for a reason. And our souls know greater than the game, right?
Yeah.
So why did our souls choose to be here? To do and to negotiate it. Well, what am I negotiating? The things and stories, kind of like for, me saying me being on Skype and this call didn't come through, so you decided to do the phone instead of going into the story, well, we can't get her, you just move to the next thing, right?
That's right.
And that's the way the universe wants to do, is they're giving us enough tools to say that we don't have to stay in the one thought. And what a gift that is.
That is a gift. The one thing that I don't know is though it was a gift or not, and that's here I go with my glass half empty. But they say that we're the only animal, creature, call us what you will, on the earth that understands that we're gonna die. Now I don't believe that. I think that other animals do too, some of them. But it's almost like a curse to have that. I mean, because from the day we're born, we're it's like someone flips over the hourglass, and the stand starts going, and you have no idea when your number's going to be called, but you know it's going to be called. But some people that don't motivate them. And others it does, and then there's others that it terrifies them. Me, I had my experience I had a heart attack 9 years ago, and I thought it might be over then, but it wasn't, and so I go on, but and I wasn't afraid. I always thought I'd be scared to death but when I was in that situation, I really wasn't, which I can't explain. I just wasn't. I was so whatever happens.
I can understand those words.
yeah. So, but I guess, why do we get to know that we're gonna die, but we don't get to know for sure what comes after? Would it be just too much for us, or?
Well, sometimes our soul, in the wants to accomplish in this lifetime, sometimes we come down and it's called be numb, be totally a horse with blinders on, I don't want to see anything else besides what I'm meant to see. And it's because we were supposed to have those experiences. Yeah. Now, for me, I wasn't meant to have that experience. I was meant to have an experience. And why was I born with dyslexia? And I know this isn't my only lifetime with dyslexia or a form of this, but it's like, like my husband always said, Natasha, you don't really speak really good English, right? And even my nephew who's here this summer, he goes, Natasha, when you're talking about spirit, you have no problems with words. But as soon as you start talking about dinner, you can't put two words together. and that's the thing is that because my dyslexia allows me to talk to many different beings of different languages, right? Even though I have a hard time speaking English.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Why was I born that way, right? Why was I born that way? Well, that's the experience that my soul needed to awaken into this path that I'm meant to live in this lifetime. And I'm finally able to, thank you for having me on the show, because this is my life calling. This is my soul's calling, is to be a voice for the universe and to awaken or to bring awarenesses or to bring perceptions or a truth to someone who can use, even if it's just two words that I say in this time that we're using.
Yeah. All right. Well, Great answer. Hang on with us for a moment. I want to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we'll talk some more. And I've got some more questions. I want to talk about animal communication when we get back. So hang on with me for a few minutes. And folks, if you want to get a question to me, you can do it. The most sure way is through the portal over on the website, lastfrequency.com. That's the best way to do it. I'm definitely going to get it. You could try Facebook and or YouTube. Might be able to get you on those too. Of course, you can always listen to the radio end of things, which there's a player on my website, lastfrequency.com. My guest tonight, I told you, another really, really good one. She is Natasha Venter, and she is a psychic medium amongst other things. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. And again, if you got questions, send them in, and we'll get them to her. Someone did ask me about readings. Well, we'll ask her about all that when we return. So we'll be right back, folks. Sometimes I feel like I could use a little black velvet.
Excellent. Number one means you're always on top. Your number one radio.
You're listening to the VARA Network. Hey, frequencies of all walks of life. Keep up with all things TLF radio by joining our mailing list. Go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the form. You'll get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now.
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
You heard me. Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
For all your bumper sticker needs, just click on the Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers banner located at the foot of my website, www.lastfrequency.com. That's Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers and more.
You're making me crazy.
You're listening to The Last Frequency with Mike Vara.
Do you want to hear the truth about the far out, the out of the box, and the things that go bump in the night? Do you want to explore the mysteries of time and space, conspiracies and politics, and everything else that the mainstream media won't tell you? Then tune in to The Last Frequency Radio, the show that covers it all with host Mike Vara. He will take you on a journey of discovery and enlightenment and challenge your assumptions and beliefs. Whether it's UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, forbidden archaeology, or government cover-ups, he will bring you the facts and the opinions that matter. The Last Frequency Radio is live weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern on lastfrequency.com. You can also listen to past shows on our website and Rumble. And don't forget to check out the shop for some cool merchandise. The Last Frequency Radio is your source for the ultimate truth. When all communications go down, this just may be your last frequency.
This is The Last Frequency.
You are the resistance. From the great Southeast, in the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to The Last Frequency with your host, Mike Vara. To get questions to Mike, Just go to the portal page on the website or give a call at 803-369-3629. Now, here is Mike Vara.
I am. I hope you are too. The website, again, lastfrequency.com. Go on over, become a late nighter, be informed, and by all means, inform others. And yeah, YouTube's going to kind of nick me on that last that earlier bumper. See, that's the thing. Well, you gotta remember, you don't mute it, they'll get you. That's why I gotta mute the music on the breaks, because it's only because of them. Everyone else don't give me a problem, but it is what it is, and it will be what it will be. So, all right, let's get back to it. I got some of your questions that come in, and I'll get to those. All right, Natasha, we are back. Yes. So, animal communication, how does that work?
Well, it's actually, in a way, for me, on the easier side, because they're pretty simple, right?
Probably
it
more
is what
simple
it is.
than humans.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, because we're the complicated ones. They're the simple ones. They are ones that work in the now. And sometimes it's, like for me, with the animals that I have, that I use just mind. Mind matters, right?
Yeah.
I got to put my kitten. I just got a kitten. I'm going to put him out of the room. Otherwise, he's going to distract me. And like for my kitten here, I'm very much picturing what I would like him to do. I don't want him to chew on cords and stuff like that. So I'll picture him no on that, like a kind of a stop, action. And then I picture what he can play with. And I'm noticing that, he's starting to get in my frequency, as you would call it, get into my mind's eye. He's trusting me, I'm trusting him. And so we're getting better communication about that. So, communication is just like mediumship. Mediumship is communication. And so with that most people who are mediums can do animal communication, but the more you use it, the better you get with it. And that's the thing. Animals sometimes are surprised. You can talk to me? Yeah, I can talk to you. Because it's all about, opening up my third eye with their third eye, is the way I kind of basically, in simple terms, communicate.
Yeah.
With them.
Okay. And so, when you give readings, how do you go about that? like some people ask if they called in, are you able to do something like that? Is that something you do more on a personal level?
I have a very high integrity. And so when I'm on the radio, which I'm on another radio show with animal communication here locally, that I will do a reading online, but then there is a point where I say, this is getting a little deeper and I would like to do this more in private.
Okay.
Just because I do want to honor the person who is interacting with me. Not everything should be on air.
Well, yeah, that's true. Not everything should be on air. I've had in the past, believe me, I've talked to a lot of psychics doing this show, and some who've impressed me dearly, and others I wasn't so sure about. But yeah, they would, most of the time things would get too personal. They'd stop and say, we could do this off the air. Which I think is good. Now there's others who don't care and just go right through it. It's like, well, you asked, but
and
yeah.
And that is the truth. For me, in the way that I use my discernment, and I value lives. I value our story. I value the way that we live our life, and there's much more to the story behind the story, and sometimes we cannot get it taken care of in the 3-minute reading or the 4-minute reading, but there's enough, and I'm not one who, I'm here of service, so I really enjoy to give a message that is meant to be given. At the same time, though, like I said, there's sometimes where an hour session is needed to work through what we've worked through in our humanness.
Yeah. So with the animals, what would an animal? What is their most? I guess what do they want to communicate most about? Toothaches, back pain. What kind of, like, when someone asks you to communicate with an animal, what's it usually? Why are you usually communicating with the animal?
Well, there's a like if a dog has anxiety, or is in fear and flight, or is in like they don't want their owner to leave. There's these scenarios that get triggered in animals just like they get triggered in us. And many times if we find out the why, and this is the thing that I have an understanding, that when we can go back and look at the why, many times we can heal it. Like for me, there was one dog who had some problems, and so I took the energy back into the time when it was in the womb, and I took the soul back, and we did some healing and put a blanket around them and put love around them and security and that settledness, and so that we can reset the mind, emotions, and the body's triggers. And then hopefully, I haven't heard if that did any help, but with life and energy, we can go back and do healing work if we believe it, and go back and do the story. And so with that, a lot of times in the animal communication, what I do is I can go back and say, why did this happen? And I can go back into time and help with that, or the communication of, let's say, my dog is licking their feet. What is going on? And I can say, well, there's a spot in their digestive system, because I'm a medical intuitive, also not a doctor, but I can see into the body and get some triggers of why something is happening. And so going into this, it's an animal communication is helping others, helping them do others. Like I have a neighbor's dog who she comes and asks for my dog to come and play, and so she'll come and sit on the front porch. Well, now she's gotten in the habit of jumping on the door, so I've asked her to get down. So I picture her talking to her, having her sit and wait for us to open the door, instead of her saying, "Can Cleo come out and play?" Quite cute, actually. you know, and then, it's like Cleo, my dog, will come up and she'll look at me, and it's like, okay, fine, let's go do, she'll tell me through imagery what she needs to do. And sometimes I agree with it and sometimes I don't.
Well, and dogs, they get, some people think that, oh, they're just a dumb animal, but they're not. They're really
Oh,
smart.
gosh,
They're
no.
so loyal. I mean, that's my favorite animal is a dog. I just love dogs. Um, I've always had one my whole life. I don't right now though, but man, I don't know. Some say they're as smart as a 5-year-old child, the smartest dogs. If that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good. And
Yep.
look what they could learn. I mean, they learn, they become service dogs and they help people, open up cabinets, get stuff. They could tell somebody when they're going to have a seizure before they have it, things like that. Just, they're amazing animals. So.
Well, and I have an understanding that every animal has had the understanding that they are going to be of service in some way. And even my feral cat who came to us, and she had a feral mom and feral dad, and was raised by hand, but at the same time though that DNA was so strong in her that once she started going outside, I live in a rural kind of area, so it's real easy for my cat to go outside and inside, and she just basically started staying outside. But what she supported me in was to learn that I couldn't depend on an animal. I had to depend on myself. I had to depend on my knowings. I had to depend on, like a cat sitting on your lap. It grounds you and it gets your energy changed. Well, I had to be in charge of my own energy and grounding myself. And until that story got more completed, now I finally got a kitten who can be my familiar again, I call it, who can support me in my journey. But now I'm more balanced. I'm more grounded in this journey. And so every animal that we have, and yes, I can say every animal, has something to help us with. Even if it's, like if our dog is dealing with anxiety, well, I would look at myself and see if I'm dealing with my anxiety or not, right? If I have a dog that's barkety, I would say, am I too barkety in my life? Am I, so look at what the animals are mirroring in us with discernment and see what we can do a little bit different with our lives. And many times when we get an animal in our life at a certain time, let's say if we get an animal when we're in a lot of chaos, well, that animal will end up being more chaotic because that's what they came into our life with, is more chaos. And so there again is, if we calm down that chaos, many times that animal can calm down.
Yeah, I've always had good dogs outside of, and then what's a good and bad dog, I suppose. But I had one dog who we rescued. This was years ago, and he was part German Shepherd and part something else. And this dog, he's house trained and all that good stuff. Every night he would go into the garbage and tear up the diapers for my baby daughter at the time. And I'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I would step barefooted in the jelly from the diapers. So then I made a home in the basement for the dog, just for overnights, and he started busting out the windows. He would literally climb the wall, break the window, come around up onto the porch, and just sit at the door and wait for me to let him in again. And so, I mean, the dog was weird. He'd even, when we'd go to work, he'd jump through the windows after the mailman. And when he caught the mailman, he wouldn't do anything. He'd just lick him. And, it's like, so eventually we had to transport him to a junkyard where he became a junkyard dog. And I think that was his calling. No windows to break. Lots of cars, though. If he wanted to break the windows on those, nobody would care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But that's the thing is that there's a lot of animals that aren't meant to be contained, and we contain them. And so there again is, they have their life story that they're meant to. Like, I have a friend whose cat disappeared. well, he was done with the journey with that family, right? So he decided to go on to another place. And so with that, that not every animal is meant to be with us. And sometimes we're actually part of that journey for them to get to the right place.
That's
you
the
know,
thing
and
about a cat too. I mean, nobody really owns a cat. You think you do. If kitty cat, like you said, it's had enough. If it's done, they leave, and it almost seems like, I guess, I don't know, they don't miss their people like a dog does, maybe. But so if somebody's feeding it over at another house, it'll go there. They're survivalists, really. They
well,
really
they are.
they act like they don't need nobody. It's like, I don't need you. I don't know. Cats have always. I love cats to a degree, but they're a little too independent of an animal for me. I like the cuddling kind. And some cats are, but a lot of them are. They'll let you rub their belly for a minute, and as soon as you look away, they'll scratch you. So.
Yep.
Wonderful
Well,
kitties.
there again is, though, sometimes an animal like that is good to say, hey, I'm here for you, but you can't depend on me. You can trust me, but yet trust, really? It's like trust with discernment. And I love that word discernment. I live my life by discernment. Is this good for me? Is this good for you? Am I supposed to say this for me? Am I supposed to say that for you? And when we're doing that, we find that balance a little bit more in life, because life is about balancing us. And balance is not always in the center, and it's not always in the same place. And so finding balance in the moment is a gift, and a cat is a great practice for that. Where are we? What are we doing? What's this purpose for?
Yeah. Here, when I was in New York, when I lived in New York, cats, the cats would always want to go outside, and they go out, and there wasn't much. There was like really no predators outside of a stray dog, maybe. Here now, I'm in Carolina, and man, you got eagles, you got owls, you got a lot of big birds here that will swoop up a small cat. And I mean, I've seen the birds come and grab squirrels right out of the tree here. And it's just yeah. So if you got a kitty and you're in South Carolina, you might want to keep it inside.
Yes, but at the same time, though, when an animal learns, like my Ava, who's outside all the time. We have hawks, we have eagles, we have, we have all nature. I have coyotes that I hear just down the road from us. I have deer that walk in the backyard or walk through our yards all the time. So we have nature all around us, and that's one reason why we keep a dog, is to keep nature away.
Yeah.
The raccoons and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, like any animal that's going to live in nature, and if you trust them to live in nature. Now, I wouldn't take a cat that's lived in the house for 5 years and then put them outside and they would know what to do, even though they are instinctual animals and they will find a way to negotiate it. But if like I've had some readings where, is so-and-so's is the cat so-and-so going to be okay? And I go, well, she seems pretty feral, or very outward, outside-ish. And they go, oh, yeah, she was born of a feral mom and dad, right? And I just brought her in, and she escaped. And I said, oh, yeah, she's got the instincts of generations. She's going to be fine. She knows, if it's her journey to be, sadly, I hate to say this, a meal for someone else, that was her soul's journey, right? And I have to kind of trust that process. That, it's like, why did my parents die at 57, 56, right? It was their life calling. I cannot hold on to what I wanted. I have to hold on to, that's their life's journey. And what do we do with this? It's part of that letting go and trusting the bigger picture.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, my mom, she was 65 when she passed, and then my dad, 22 years later, he passed. And I don't think it was a very happy 22 years for him.
No.
He really loved her. He missed her a lot, and so and now he's with her. So at least that's what they tell me. So here's a question from one of our listeners. Says, well, I guess this is kind of a basic question. What is our life's purpose? Well, wouldn't each one of us have a different purpose, though, right?
I would say that yes, each one of us has a different purpose, or there are only a handful of purposes, but how do we individually apply that purpose? Yeah. So let's say if our purpose is to be love, right? And so how does my signature of love feel different than yours? Let's say, and each individual story of that can create our personal life purpose. So yes, we all have a life purpose. It's not a thing we do. It's more of a, for lack of a better word, the calling that we have, or the thing that we fall back into, of like being of service, or being of a teacher, or being of love, or being of I don't want to say a caretaker, but maybe a caregiver. Like I'm not a caretaker, but yet I'm a caregiver. So it's those things, but how do we as individually signature that? And people always ask me, what is my life purpose? And I say, when you start being the person that you're meant to be, when you start doing those things that bring you joy, when you start doing those things that bring sunshine to you, that's your life purpose. And it could be teaching children. Well, if that's what you're meant to do, then that's what you're meant to do, because that's what you fall back to all the time, no matter what that looks like. You're drawn to the neighborhood kids. You're drawn to, you go be a teacher. You're drawn to the Sunday school in the mornings. It depends on what you do, but our soul calling, our life purpose is more simpler than people want it to believe it is. And but it's not the doing, even though the doing is part of the process of being.
Yeah. And, well, that's just like with past life regressions that people go through. Anytime people tell me about their past life, they've never tell me that they were the janitor, or they were the maintenance guy, or, or the taxi cab driver. They were always like, a king or a queen or or something like that, So, I don't know. Anyway, so
but a king and a queen, what do? They're leaders, right?
That's right.
They're meant to be leaders, and so how can we lead others? And there's those roles that we play, and teacher is widespread. Me being teacher, I'm a teacher now, right? I'm a teacher when I go work in my elementary school that I work in the mornings. It's like and then I do teaching in my sessions that I do. So it's not necessarily a teacher like with a ruler, but it's that I present. I pull my hand. I have a hand out for someone to say, this is what we have an opportunity to learn, and I'm learning as well as when I'm teaching, like, having this conversation. I'm like going, wow, I didn't realize that. That's coming down from somewhere. And so, learning at the same time we teach, we communicate. And so, it's that stretch and pull. And like I said, people put too much emphasis on it. And no, people don't necessarily say, but like I know that I was an angel one time on the war fields. I was I can see myself with wings, on a field, trying to get. I can see myself whispering in somebody's ear, "Get up, you can get up," or taking someone's soul to another angel so that they can take them to where they needed to be. And these different things that are going on, and so we all have different lifetimes. But I can tell you, though, that there's a reason why we're living those memories. And a lot of us are living memories. We just don't know it. Why are some of us afraid of snakes? Why are some of us afraid of bugs? Why are some of us, sometimes it's because our parents were, yes, but there's something else that keyed into that story. Why was my kid afraid of water? Even as a baby, he would scream every time I put him in the bathtub, even though the bath was just barely full, right?
Yeah.
But there was something in his past lives that he had that for me at the time when I was with his mom, and during those times, my dad just died, because my dad died 6 weeks before I had my first child, and so I was in grief, and so I knew that it was about a past life, but I was so in my moment of life, having a new baby, and then having my dad pass away, that I wasn't really tapping into, oh, it's this life and this reason and this stuff. I was very much in my 3D world, living with the emotions I was dealing with and negotiating the world in front of me, right? But I knew it was a past life, and me just having that understanding that, oh, this fear isn't this lifetime. This fear is something else. Even if I don't know what that something else is, then it gives me an understanding that I can't blame it. I can't have blame for it. I just know that there's something greater than me that's happening at that moment.
I don't like bugs, snakes, mice. I mean, I don't scream and run from them, but I don't like them personally. And water, and I know how to swim, and I've always been a great swimmer. Of course, I'm getting older now, but I've had couple times I almost drowned. So I take water very serious. But I used to be afraid of it before I learned how to swim. I mean, you couldn't put me near it. I mean, bathtub, yeah, but as far as a swimming pool, they can go in there and say, "Look, I'm standing, and the water only comes up to here." I didn't trust it. It's like, nope, not getting in. But once I learned how to swim really good, then I got too trusting, and yeah, a couple times the water almost got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's different. One time when I was out in the lake, it's weird. Your lungs got a mind of their own. When they know they're gonna suck in water, they just stop. And mine pretty much stopped, and they were only going just a very little bit, and it got to where I just had no breath, no energy, and I just gave up. And when I went under the water, I could see the sun, through the water. I was not. It was a really calming feeling, like it was. But then I got rescued, so. But I mean, I thought that was it, and I was prepared for that to be it. I thought, well, this is it, and. It was very calming. I don't know. A couple times I've had a close call with death, and each time it's not as dramatic as some might think.
No, it's really not. Now, there's twofold reasons why sometimes we have those near death or almost passing aways. Is that we have in our timeline of our life several times where we can choose to leave this planet. And sometimes the scenarios that we're in help us do that, right? And then sometimes there's a twofold, two sides to every coin reason for things, that sometimes we get into those situations to pivot us. It's a pivot moment in our life that we were going, let's say, south, and we needed to go southwest. And so there's that shift in our realities that can help us get in another trajectory in our life. So there's a kind of a twofold thing that these doorways kind of come sometimes when we have these doorways where we're not necessarily going to leave our life, but yet, or our soul has left during that time many times before. Like for me, like my parents passing away at 56, 57. Well, I'm 56, 57 now. So, but my soul has also said, this is a lifetime that I want to live longer. Mm-hmm. But in other lifetimes, I've questioned it. But so that the last 10 years, I've really been deciding, I want to be alive in this body, in this lifetime, in this moment, in this 3D world that I'm living in right now.
And so
and I've
far,
had to make
so
that
good.
Choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and
exactly.
I've heard that before. I've had others who have told me that we get these doors come and we can open them, and that is to walk through and leave if we choose. And For some, well, when I almost drowned, I was only about 21 years old, so I definitely wasn't ready to go yet. I've never felt like life has been that bad that I have to, I know some people they take their own lives, and to me, it's like I feel like I was put here for a reason, and no matter how bad it gets, I have to keep fighting until the man upstairs calls my number. That's just how I feel. But okay, here's a question from Shirley in Michigan. What is the best way to overcome my current challenges? I don't know. Would you know what to tell her on that? I mean, wouldn't you have to know what kind of challenges?
No, because the word challenge means that there's something that always, if you take a theme of, well, I can't do this and this is stopping me from doing that, and the word challenge, we'll just take that word, challenge, right?
Yeah.
Since she chose that word. To overcome challenge, a lot of times we have challenges in front of us, and if we see them like hurdles instead of walls, see them as a hurdle. And I'm going to tell you that right now in this planet, that we all are getting to see our triggers.
Yeah.
What is our trigger? A trigger is a challenge, right? Many times a trigger or a challenge is there if we witness it, if we look at it. And if we look, ask the question, where did this fear or this hindrance or this I don't want to coming from? And this is something that I do easily. I've practiced it for many years. But if somebody can just ask those questions, why am I triggered with this? Why am I struggling with this? And the first thing that pops in your head, it could be, and this is where sometimes getting outside help can help, because there's awarenesses that, like I've had somebody said, I've been doing counseling for 5 years, but 1 hour session with you brought in the whole world that I was living, and oh my gosh, thank you for opening up doors for me.
Yeah.
Because it's that thing. So when we look at that challenge, that trigger, and why am I not walking through it or around it?
Yeah.
Like
Good
for me,
question.
one of my triggers is when I have, and I have to I have to work through this with my business, right, is writing long emails or reading long emails, and I just don't want to do it. So that's a trigger. That's a challenge for me, right? So what I have to do is I have to get uncomfortable. And I have to look at it, and I have to sit down and I have to read through it. And sometimes I can read 3/4 the way through, i.e. dyslexia. It's really been a hard thing for me to read sometimes. And then maybe get up, pick up or do something else for a few minutes, come back and read, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be willing to get uncomfortable. Now, looking at a challenge, asking the question, do I truly want to do this? Do I not want to do it? Right? We have to be willing to ask ourselves questions. And the one way to figure this out is that you get a piece of paper and you write down the reasons why I don't want to do what's in front of me, the reasons why I do want to do what's in front of me. And you have those two sections, right? And you look at the pros and cons of both of them. And then the one thing in the why I don't want to do it, you look at the two things that kind of rise up that are more noticeable, that are more like, ooh, I didn't think that about myself. Oh, I didn't like that. So you take that and you analyze that. You ask those questions, and then the two things of why do I want to do it? And you analyze that out a little bit more. And you keep asking those questions down the list, right? And a lot of times we can get to why do we not want to do that challenge. For an example, I had a coworker that was or a new coworker coming in, and I don't want to work with her. I don't know why I don't want to work with her. And so I had asked that question, why do I not want to work with this person? right? So I would ask those questions. Well, there was two things that were triggering me. So I went to the next list and I asked, why do those things bother me? And then I took two more things from that. And then after that, I got down to one thing. I didn't want her to know that I was intuitive. Ooh, I didn't want her to know. Why don't I want people to know why I'm intuitive? Ooh,
yeah,
that's a story. Okay, time for me to get going a little bit. So going into this, and turns out to be she's one of my better friends at work, because I was willing to walk through the trigger to get to the other side. Sometimes the universe, when we're ready to get to that point of success, they'll put in challenges and they'll put in triggers that makes us want to make sure we're going to do it. And that's one thing that I always say, those naysayers, the ones that naysay us, the life that naysays us, it makes us make sure we want to do things.
Yeah, that
Make
motivates
sure we want to do
me
it.
more than anything when someone tells me, oh, you can't do that. You're not, I was told right from the start, I used to hear all the time, oh, you can't keep doing this show. You're not going to make any money, da-da-da-da-da. And, for at least 15 years, it paid my bills. So, now I do other things on top of it. But yeah, I mean, so, I don't let that just, the challenge is motivating, to say the least. Thomas,
and most of us don't have that muscle strong. It's like a muscle. If we are sitting down on the couch and then we try to get up and run a marathon, that doesn't work, right? No. We have to practice our way through that challenge. The challenges, whatever that challenge is. If we're meant to not eat as much sugar, we're going to challenge ourselves to not eat as much sugar, right?
Yeah,
Practice our way out of eating it. Sometimes going cold turkey doesn't work, right? Or we have to practice our way into, like if we have the challenge of going in, we can't go into a grocery store. So what do? We drive up to the parking lot. We sit in the parking lot. We watch the people. Next time we may get out of the car and walk to the front door. Watch the people walk in, come back. Next time we may walk in the door, right? And then look around. So we practice our way into that challenge.
It's hard to get away from the sugar, but when you go in the grocery store, it's all right there, right in the front, right everywhere you go, you see some of it, And I'll tell you, it's so good, but it's so bad for you.
It is. Our bodies are raising up in frequency, and so a lot of us are starting to get, and I don't like to use the word challenge, but are getting dietary shifts in our lives, and it's wise to listen to them.
Yeah, I'm trying to listen to mine. I really am. It's not easy. I've got Thomas in the UK, and he asked, what is the meaning of my reoccurring dreams? So basically, why does one have reoccurring dreams? Is it something trying to tell you something from someplace?
Yes, it depends on the dream. Okay. Now, if we, that's where analyzing the dream out a little bit can help you. Okay. That, and when we have those recurring dreams, it's our subconscious either working through an emotion that we're not willing to negotiate with, like shame, guilt, past memories. Like, say, if we were abused when we were kids and we haven't been able to negotiate a lot of those emotions. And I'm going to add this on. Some things are unforgivable in our lives, and some things we have to constantly try to forgive. And so with that going into life, that we have these scenarios that happen, and if we're not willing to look at them, sometimes our subconscious will have those reoccurring dreams. Now, some of us are intuitive in our dreams, and so if we have those reoccurring messages in our dreams, what are we not looking at to help us move forward?
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, Natasha, we are getting to the end here. I want to give you the floor to get out anything else that you'd like. And I just want to thank you so much for spending time with me tonight. And it's been really interesting. I'd like to do this again sometime.
I would love to be on your show again.
Great.
Thank you for this. This has been a huge gift.
Thank you.
I just want everybody to know that being human, this is a lifetime, that we are humans having a spiritual experience and a spiritual being having a human experience. It's the same coin. It's not the same side, but it's the same journey. And we're going to be perfectly imperfect through it. And our emotions are part of this journey. And the more that we communicate, become friends with our emotions, the better off we'll have life. We'll have it more graceful and more ease. Most of us have been taught to snub our emotions or to not adhere to them. And many of us are being triggered by grief. And we don't understand when we're triggered by grief. Grief can be triggered if we can't even go to the restaurant we've always wanted to because it's closed down. You know, grief is something that we can trigger if we can't eat the same food that we've been eating, right? So grief is not just losing people. And grief is one of those stories that it changes our world. It changes our path. It changes our knowings because it makes us vulnerable. And when we're going in through life, if we can hold on to knowing that our emotions are part of our networking, we can do better in life. And I want everybody to know we're not walking alone. The universe has got our back, is right there with us. And all we can do, if we can, is just open our eyes as we're driving down the road. When we walk outside, look at the sky, look at the ground, look at the tree, look at the front porch, look at where you're at, right? Listen to the people's stories around you. Glean what you can, glisten, or whatever that word is. Get what you can with them. You know, not suction them like a vampire, but yet just over here, witness it. If we witness our life, what is it doing for us? Oh my gosh, it awakens us so much, and we're never alone. And I want people to know that they are so loved. They are loved for who they were, and they are a miracle. You know, the spark that it took us to be born, we are miracles. If you saw the DNA and all the networking that we are miracles. It's time for us to believe that.
All right. Well, thank you. Websites, books, appearances, anything you want to throw out there before we close shop tonight?
Well, I do weekly posts or daily posts on most platforms, and you can reach me at Natasha Venter AC, short for Angelic Clarifications. I have a YouTube channel, Natasha Venter AC, that I do a live podcast every day with an angel on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Pacific time. This week will be the conversation about how we can rewrite our story like we're writing a book in our life. Right now is a great time to do that. I'm out there to support people. You can reach me at my website at angelicclarifications.com. And that is also my email, natasha@angelicclarifications.com.
All right, Natasha, thank you so much. Stay safe. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to talking to you again in the near future. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and blessings to you on your journey too, my dear. You're a miracle in the works. So thank you for being you.
Thank you as well. All right. Well, you have a good night.
You too. Right. Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, there she goes. Natasha Venter, and she is linked up over on my website, lastfrequency.com, and, well, there goes Monday night. Wednesday night, I have Mr. McCanny is back with me, so James McCanny joins me on Wednesday, so tune in for that one. That's going to do it for us. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Good night, everybody, and see you again on Wednesday.